Hello and welcome everybody to the AV Exchange presented by Starin. I'm your host, Joe Dunbar. It is Thursday, checks notes, September 19th. Blowing me away how fast we're getting by here. We've had a lot of great episodes this year, and we've got some more on deck before we get out of here. Obviously, I'm excited because I'm excited every time, you guys. We always have a lot of great guests. Today with us, Paul Richards from PTZOptics is going to be joining us, so we'll be diving in with Paul a little bit. You can see on the agenda, we're going to chat about IBC recap. Paul was just over at IBC in Europe. Amsterdam, maybe? We'll ask. I can't remember exactly where IBC is. I think it's in Amsterdam. Big broadcast show. I know Paul spent some time there, so we're going to be taking a look at that. I think we're going to spend a good amount of time today digging into their solution, the Hive, which is a NAB 2024 Product of the Year winner. It's a fantastic solution. If you haven't seen it yet, you're going to get to see it, and you'll be blown away by it, I promise. There's going to be a chance for some people to play with it live here as well, so that'll be fun. And then we're going to take a look at a couple of camera solutions that they have that you might not be familiar with. There's the Studio Pro and the Z Cam, which are similar but different cameras that are, the Studio Pro's been out for a minute. The Z Cam is coming. So I'd love to see that they're building on that platform. Before we dive into all the content and everything, we'll do the housekeeping. Please use the Q&A for questions. It helps us keep everything organized so we can answer all the questions and make sure that everybody gets what they're looking for. Chat for comments. I love to see conversation going on there. You can sound off. Let us know where you are. I'm currently in the great state of Minnesota, but this will probably be the last episode for that this year. I also love conversations. If you've had experience with PTZOptics, good, bad, and different, tell us about it. They're wonderful products that we use quite a bit, so I know there's going to be a lot of that going on in the chat. I am going to launch a poll. Sorry, as I find it real quick. This is just a basic poll that we use to get a grip on A, who we're talking to, and B, kind of how familiar you are with the solutions that we're talking about. So we know who we're talking to, and we're using language that applies and doesn't, either overshoot somebody's, vocabulary or anything like that. So if you can take a second to answer those, that would be great. And at the end of this, you stick around, we are going to give away a PTZOptics Studio Pro camera. So we're going to talk about the camera. I know it's a great camera because I've used and seen one. So there's an opportunity for you to win one of those, which is not a small prize. So shout out to PTZOptics for not only providing that, but offering it up for us to give away here. I'm excited. So with that, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest of honor themselves, Paul Richards from PTZOptics. Paul, how are you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, Joe? I'm doing good.
Good, man. I see you. I see you're in the studio there.
Yeah, we're here in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. I just got back from Amsterdam, where I was at IBC last week. There were a lot of really exciting announcements in Pro AV and broadcast. Coming from Infocom, Joe, Pro AV and broadcast are merging so much. It's almost like NAB and Infocom, while different, so much of the technologies are applying to the same customers these days.
It's crazy. Paul, I'm going to shameless plug it because I can here. We launched a new podcast just after Infocom called The Loop. And it's really about keeping our customers up to date and informed in a real kind of brief and frequent segment. And we just, the most recent episode was all about kicking off the conversation of broadcast and AV, the convergence. I did this and this and this and this a million times in the 15-minute episode that we just did or whatever, and you just did it, and it made me kind of, it's like we're all seeing it, we're all knowing about it, we're all learning about it. So I will be curious to hear about what you saw there. Before we dive into what you saw at IBC, I'm going to check our poll results here and see. Most of the folks, so we're looking at about 70% of the folks in the room right now are somewhat familiar with PTZOptics, meaning I'm sure they've had some encounters with a camera or two in the past or done some projects, but maybe don't have the understanding of the full lineup, right? And maybe they've seen you in some videos. Almost certainly they've seen you in some videos, right, Paul? But they may not know exactly who you are. Can you just, briefly give us kind of your introduction, how you found your way into this space, and at PTZOptics, what exactly you do there?
Yeah, so I am the Chief Revenue Officer, and my background is in professional audiovisual integration. I started in Pro AV sales, and I worked in sales for about 4 to 5 years. And then I moved into marketing and helped, really put PTZOptics on the map. And a lot of that had to do with live streaming and video production, working with Zoom in the very early days. And now I help run our marketing and a lot of the trade shows and events and outreach. And I try to really dive deep into the technology so I can help kind of guide, where we should go and where we should invest. We have a large company now with a lot of R&D, and we've put a lot of effort into Hive, which is our new remote production software. So if anybody knows about it and hasn't had a chance to play with it, you can email me to get access right now during this webinar. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can email me at paul@ptzoptics.com. And during this webinar, I'm going to be sharing access with you all to control our PTZ cameras. And I want to kind of have that conversation about what remote production is and how you can add managed services to all the hundreds of thousands of PTZ cameras out there today can now be used. You can charge your clients for live events and remote production to add additional managed services to your portfolio.
Love that. Love that. I appreciate the background. The managed services portion is obviously, I mean, that's been a huge part of the system integration discussion for a long time now. And a lot of partners are still looking for, their first opportunity to get their foot in the door on some managed services or to expand their portfolio. So I'm excited to take a look at it. For all the folks out there, I did drop Paul at PTZOptics.com. I put it in the chat. Go ahead, copy, paste it, send Paul an email, and you can get a link while we're in this. I would love to see it if we can get at least a couple people in there while we're doing this demo. That would be awesome. But before we dive into Hive, Paul, I'm just curious, man, like IBC 2024, it's a huge show. I don't get the opportunity to go to that show usually, but I've always wanted to. I'm a regular NAB attendee, for the Vegas show in the spring. What did you see at IBC 2024? How does it compare to the show that we're used to stateside? Did anything blow your socks off? I mean, tell us about your experience there.
Yeah, so a couple of I was really excited to see Elgato release their new Stream Deck Studio, which is a 32-button one rack unit device, which you could use in a variety of different solutions for control surface. So it was exciting to see some of the more, let's call it the Stream Deck, a prosumer device, kind of coming up into the professional world. So that was really exciting to see. I'm a big vMix fan, so I went and checked out vMix. They have a new Telestrator feature, which is the ability to annotate on top of live video during a live stream or production. So that was really cool. We were showing off our brand new PTZOptics Zcam 4K.
Sweet.
And this camera, you can kind of see it here. It's our first Hive linked camera. And explaining to our customers what Hive linked is was really, really interesting. Essentially what it is you can log into your PTZOptics camera, and this is true for the Move SC and the Move 4K and pretty much all of our cameras, even going backwards a bit to like the Studio Pro. You can connect to this camera, log it in to your Hive account, okay? Unplug it, ship it anywhere in the world. As soon as it connects to power, you have remote control of it. So if you're doing live events of any kind, you can now either have remote control of PTZ cameras that are permanently installed, or you can and I'm getting some Corey Simpson. Thank you. I'm going to send you a link right now to control our cameras. But you can
jump in, folks.
This is going to change the game for remote production. So the Hive linked is a really big deal.
I'm excited to hear about that. Do you maybe I'm going to save that question for maybe a little later in the conversation. I appreciate the insight. Are you a regular to IBC, or is this a first time for you?
So I've gone a couple years now, and it's really fun to hear the European approach, which is sometimes a little different to Pro AV than what we're used to. But I did get to see a lot of your European counterparts, Joe.
Fantastic. We have a great team all around the world. I'm lucky enough to get to work with some of them regularly, and I look forward to the times when I get to see them and spend a little more time with them at the trade shows. You did mention, Elgato with the new Stream Deck moving more into the space. I love this because we've seen it so much in the audio space, Paul. we've got a partnership with Avid, so shameless plug there. But I've worked a lot in studio environments, and as the I don't know how else to say, but like the digitization of everything happened, and it all moved more in the box is the term that we use there a lot. It all moved more into the computer and into the box. A lot of people found themselves missing like tactile feel of control, of an actual mixing console in the audio world. But it doesn't matter. It's the tactile feel of control, especially when you're doing a remote production that's mostly virtually based. You can end up in a situation where your eyes are darting around a lot, your hands are darting around a lot. So to have something like, the Elgato Stream Deck, which is an immensely wonderful product, with real controls that you can touch and feel, you can operate and move on the fly. They also have, I don't know if you saw it at IBC, but have you seen their the like teleprompter solution that they have?
Yeah, I was using it today, actually. It's really good.
Oh, I love to hear. I've been thinking about do I need to get one of these or not. So maybe you're convincing me there that it's a good product to have. Well, I appreciate the insight into IBC, Paul. Let's talk about the Hive, and I suppose let's start from kind of the beginning. We've got a couple people jumping into your session right now. Can you explain for those who don't know what Hive is, what it's for, and some places we might see it used?
Yeah, let me jump into a screen capture here because this is kind of funny. Corey here is controlling this camera. You can see Corey is from Diversified. Thank you for joining us today, Corey. And he's remotely controlling the cameras in my studio. And so Corey has logged in. And as you can see, it was Corey essentially got an email from me through an invite. So let me show you how that works. So this is a web-based application, but it is also available for Mac and PC. And what I'm going to do is just show you how easy it was for me to share access with Corey. So I just put his email in, made him a producer, and I clicked send invite, and boom, Corey is in here. And that's how easy it is. So basically, you can bring all your cameras into the Hive. And it's not just PTZOptics cameras, Joe. We support BirdDog, Canon, Panasonic, Sony. And the reason why is because the industry has been so crazy. I mean, there's so many customers who have 3 or 4 different PTZ camera manufacturers at their location.
Right.
And it's really a customer pain point because all the buttons are in a different place. They've got, they have to open up different Google Chrome browser tabs to control each of their cameras. And what Hive does is it standardizes what has become a little bit of a crazy marketplace where you can have your PTZOptics cameras playing nicely with BirdDog and Sony and Panasonic all in one interface, so that you can have the same color correction tools, the same presets, and the PTZ camera movement tools, which are my favorite part of this. If you look at there's a little color correction tool on this desk here. Check out this is called the fast frame. I can say I want the PTZ camera to go right there, and boom, it goes right there. You don't have to set presets anymore, Joe. You can just literally pick an area where you want the camera to go, and it'll go exactly there.
That's so much nicer than having to deal with. And I mean, I see on the screen, it looks like they are still available for directional controls if you want to, kind of do that traditional movement. But it saves, like you said, it saves the operator so much time from having to worry about what presets do I need to set up and then get all those configured and set up for them, right? This just gives them the ability to on the fly basically recall. I don't want to call it a preset, but it's essentially what it's doing, like an ad hoc preset. That's really neat.
Yeah, and the other big deal for a lot of our customers is the ease of use. So a lot of people are new to video production still, and just to have a click to center, to just say, hey, I want the camera to go right there, and have it our move tool, where we can just very quickly just move left or right just ever so slightly. These camera controls are just so intuitive. It's just a keyboard and mouse from anywhere in the world. You can control the cameras. You can see Corey in here's doing a lot over here, and I'm happy to see that. Now, this platform's got a lot in it, so I think I'm just going to jump into explaining how it works, Joe.
Please do. Let's get under the hood if we can.
Okay, cool. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and click on create a new studio just to show how easy it is, because on the top left, and I'll move over here to show this. On the top left, you're going to have all of your different studios. So if you're in a university, this could be every single classroom. If you're if you're in corporate, each of these could be a conference room. So let's just add a new studio and we'll call it a conference room A. And essentially, these are unique, independent spaces where you can set up all of your AV. So we added a conference room here, and what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to link a bridge. So this is basically the software that will run on a Mac or a PC computer, and it will give you remote access to that entire network to add all of your NDI cameras, all of your PTZOptics cameras, all the USB cameras that are connected to the computer running the bridge. So the bridge here basically is just installed on the computer. Now, this computer that I'm on now is actually running the bridge that is powering this Hive, but hopefully that makes sense. So essentially, there's a bridge here. It's running the Hive. Now, if you were using PTZOptics Hive linked cameras, okay, like the camera I have in my hand here, you don't need a bridge. You don't need to have anything connected. No hardware is needed if you're using a Hive linked camera. These can connect directly to the cloud. So if you've got a multi-camera shoot, you can just connect these to your studio one time and there's no computer needed.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear about this and I'm understanding this correctly. A question from the audience. Joe asks, that's me. Are you, in one instance, you have a PC that's running this client application or a Mac, whatever it may be, and that is kind of your gateway to all the cameras on the site. Or in another instance, you're saying, like in this case, Hive linked cameras, the Z cam that you're holding up, or any Hive linked camera can be that gateway.
Yes, you might have three cameras. Yes, you might have three cameras connected to your Hive account directly through the cloud because you've logged into your Hive Link camera and associated your account with it and said, hey, link to this studio. And then as soon as it plugs in on the far end to Ethernet and has internet, it's remotely controllable. Or what's happening here right now is I've got the Hive running on this computer. And what that allows me to do, and Corey can see this now from his location, but he can literally click the plus button and add a camera to my production remotely from the far end. He can do everything remotely, and all of that's happening through the bridge.
Wow, that's so nice. So this leads to another question I have, Paul. Can we, trying to think of how I want to word this. When you access that bridge, be it a PC on site or that, one of the Hive linked cameras, that's looking for all of those cameras that are in that facility locally. Is there a way, is it possible to link other cameras from other locations into that same like studio session within the software?
Well, yes, there is. And wow, you're already asking some of the more complicated questions. So in order to answer that question, I got to do a high level, what are we buying here as the end user?
Let's do that.
And then I'll segue into what is basically what we call enterprise, which is connecting multiple studios together into one master cloud studio.
I have a question queued up that asked about pricing tiers, so I'm going to negate that as you're already addressing it. So let's take a look at this.
So one of the things that really excites me about Hive is that we are giving it away for free with every single PTZOptics camera. And it doesn't even matter if you have a Sony or a Panasonic or a Canon or a JVC. It's always free for one camera. So a lot of people are going to get this software. And then in a traditional SaaS model, we are going to try to upsell them to say, hey, it's worth it to get a standard studio for $270 a year, which will get you 3 sources, or unlimited cameras for $1,000 a year. Now, we have built this specifically with the channel in mind. So through the app, when we sign up 1,000, 10,000 free customers, and they look at an annual price right here, it's going to be MSRP. But for our channel partners, they're all going to sell at MAP. which is significantly less expensive. So we're giving the channel a pricing advantage for every single annual license sold. So nobody would really want to buy this direct. They're really going to want to buy it through a channel partner.
That's
So
awesome,
that's
Paul. I know the systems integration partners are really going to appreciate that, especially with, this is a solution that I think can appear to be I don't want to say appear, it can be very simple to get into and operate and dive in, but it seems like with a little better understanding, there's a lot of advanced features and functions that we're going to be able to take advantage of, it looks like.
Yeah, and one of the great things is we have, resellers who have sold thousands of PTZ cameras over the past 10 years that we've been in business. So this is a way to go back to those customers and say, hey, try this out completely for free. And a percentage of those customers are going to want to sign up for Hive, and it's recurring revenue. So now we can build recurring revenue in. Our channel partners can place a PO with Starin for, just like a regular camera. And then the second year, essentially the exact same percentage, the exact same revenue is then shared with the channel. So literally it doesn't diminish at all over time. It continues to be the exact same margins that we offer our channel for the cameras. And so we're trying to make this as easy as possible because the transition to SaaS can be tricky. And some companies have done it well and some other companies have not done it well. So we're giving the channel a pricing advantage, full recurring revenue that does not diminish, because we truly believe that the channel is, that is the way we run our business, is 100% channel. So that was important for us to make sure that everything is in the channel's favor when this rolls out.
Love to hear that. And I know the systems integrators and our partners appreciate that as well. I think, it's often enough, Paul, that I feel like I hear, folks picking out, well, this manufacturer did this and this manufacturer did that, and now it's taking away our opportunities for margin, and they're eroding our margins to make up for their margins, which, those things unfortunately do happen in business. So I appreciate that you guys are considering, your customer and their customer as well. That's a great position to start from, for sure.
Now, while we're here, I'm going to go to the workflows so that we can go over some of these opportunities, because you asked about connecting multiple hives together. And we get that question a lot. The NFL was asking us that question. In fact, a lot of sports, three-letter sports, NBA, NHL, they have got lots of stadiums all over. And the PTZ cameras that they have in these stadiums today are not used for, broadcasting on ESPN. They're actually just used for like the owners and the managers to see what's going on and be able to kind of have an eye into the production. Mm-hmm. And so they do want to connect multiple locations all across the globe. And for those opportunities, we are going to ask you to work with our sales team, because we consider that enterprise. When you're trying to merge multiple studios together, that is our enterprise plan, of which our sales team will work with the customers and our resellers to close that business.
That's awesome. I know, you mentioned it's about ownership and GMs and all those having their eye and visibility to things, which is absolutely true. And then we also see, to the same effect, we work with a lot of sporting venues and places like that as well. And it's like they use all this kind of stuff for their replay footage. When they talk about reviewing game tape and things like that, it's not like they're just rewatching the broadcast that you and I watched, right? They have every angle of all the plays, and they can track and see everything into the minutia. So those are very critical for operations, in addition to being like, access and oversight for ownership and the C-suite, right? So there's kind of expands the use case for that.
And it's great that the NFL and the NHL are interested in Hive already, and they want to do these great enterprise things. But to be honest with you, Joe, the bigger opportunity is youth sports, because how many more high schools and, youth sporting places are there? If we look at this slide right here, you'll see that essentially, for youth sports, this could not be more perfect. They've got lots and lots of fields. They don't have technology at these places. So if you just can tell them, hey, put one camera in, plug it to the network, and you are done. And now you've got camera, video, and you can remotely control it all at the high school or as the paying the reseller, suddenly they can send cameras out into the wild and remotely control them and just have a techie kind of plugging it in and being done. So this is a hugely scalable opportunity, and it's finding those opportunities. We've got one reseller who's looking at putting in 200 of these into baseball fields across the country, and it's not the MLB, it's
Right.
high school, you know? So it's interesting.
That's a huge opportunity. The more you talk about, I regularly have conversations with our integration partners, and frequently I get the question about, yeah, we're doing a PTZ camera. It's often like a high school level is where I get this question a lot. They say, oh, we're going to do a camera, one or maybe two cameras somewhere on the field or we have a small stadium where I went to school and things like that. And they're going to use those to charge folks so grandma and grandpa on the other end of the country can watch juniors games, right? There's all sorts of platforms emerging to host those sorts of those video platforms, and this is an excellent way to improve the production quality of those and get those out looking much shinier, much prettier. And I know you guys are still in the early stages. I mean, the Hive hasn't even been out. It's months at this point. So, there's still, I know, more for you guys to explore as well. Other use cases that you're seeing? I know when you and I initially talked about this, my brain immediately went to like the house of worship conversation. I know we're seeing a lot of that use case. What else are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so here's another workflow diagram that I'd like to share, because this one really drives home kind of, and house of worship is big, especially for churches that are multi-site.
Yep.
So house of worship, biggest problem is who's going to control the live stream, right? How is this going to work? We've got the volunteers don't show up. The pastor doesn't know how it works. So this is a big opportunity for anyone who wants to provide managed services, because now you permanently install the PTZ cameras. You can offer a service for, $100 or $200 a week, just for that hour that they need you don't have to leave your home, right? You can remotely live stream everything, record all the cameras, and operate the cameras for them remotely without having to leave your home. So that is a big deal and a big opportunity. In the diagram here, this is a studio where we have a remote location, but we've got multiple studios being controlled. So we've got a lot of churches that are multi-site. So in Studio 1, let's say they've got two PTZOptics cameras, maybe a 20X and a 30X. Those are Hive linked. But in Studio 2, I'm showing that we've got older cameras, right? Maybe they've got PTZOptics Gen 2 cameras. Maybe they have, JVC or Canon. Those will require the Hive agent, the Hive bridge, to be on a computer somewhere. So just want to make that distinction. So with Hive linked cameras, with PTZOptics cameras, you don't need a computer, which is a big deal in a lot of scenarios. But for Studio 2, maybe they had a couple PTZ cameras in the past. All right, well, we'll put Hive on the computer to bridge those to the cloud and kind of modernize the workflow. In the next diagram here, we're showing multiple rooms, and this was a diagram I made for a music school. They just need to be able to see and hear what's going on, so you can connect a microphone to the PTZOptics camera, or you can connect an audio mixer to the PTZOptics camera and have a full audio and video solution to be controlled remotely. Another thing I wanted to show was the collaboration opportunities, right? So if you've got an important event where you need to have multiple people working it, you need to have an audio mixer, camera operator, and a producer, Hive gives you that access. You can even have view-only solutions. So if you're putting in, I'll give you an example of a tennis company we were working with. For the first time, it really blew my mind, Joe. Literally every live streaming system that people are used to, there's a guy who uses it, and that's it. There's a guy who uses it, and literally you either watch it on YouTube or you have no other option. You look over his shoulder. With Hive, we're giving view-only access to the coach, and the coach said, "Hey, can I see this on my computer? Sure. What's your email? Send him a link." Then you've got the parents of the students at home. Can they see it? Sure. So it really opens up the world of what, the way it should be, kind of like what Zoom did for video conferencing. Hive is doing that for live video production.
That's pretty incredible. You touched a pain point there for me that we see and I experience a lot. What Hive I think offers, and this is a great proposition for our systems integrators to understand the solution. What it does, it's an entry level solution if you need it to be. It's a great stepping stone solution if you need it to be, so you can build onto it. And it's a great enterprise grade solution if you need it to be. So getting started at a small scale doesn't require all this knowledge and breadth of all these things we're talking about, and you can build into it like that. And I think that's a huge, at least from the feedback that I hear, that's a big obstacle that a lot of integrators need to overcome when they kind of get involved with these types of broadcast solutions. And this is really more, Paul, like the merging, I'm going to do this again, of streaming and broadcast and the overlap of where these things happen. The definitions really tend to depend more on where the source is coming from. We think of broadcast being like a networked type event, a network type event or something like that, and a stream being accessible online. And that's really the only differentiator between these two segments anymore, because the hardware and the software and the back end stuff is really coming together, and that's what we're seeing here with Hive. So I really think this is an amazing solution that I'm appreciating a deep dive into. We do have a question popped up. Let me find it on my screen. I got it. Corey was asking, shout out to Corey, who got an opportunity to dive in there. And now Corey's brain is working and has some questions. We talked a little bit about Elgato. Corey wants to know if there's going to be, if there is an interface for tactile controllers to add those, or if it's a consideration for the future. Where do you guys stand on that? And what does integration look like?
Yeah, so there is first of all, my favorite thing is the fact that the keyboard is fully mapped out with hotkeys. So, you can use the up, down, left, right arrows. I can show you kind of on my screen here. If we go to Hive, like literally just using the keyboard and mouse, you can do video switching just by it. So there's a whole list of hotkeys that are really intuitive. So once you start using Hive, you literally, camera switching, movements, changing your tools. It is very much a keyboard and it's keyboard and mouse all the way. Now it already works with the Stream Deck. And so you can plug the Stream Deck in. We've already built support for that. You can plug a USB Xbox joystick in, and that will work. We're also going to be releasing this quarter, my hope, in Q4. Are we in Q4? October, November, December. Okay, so in Q4, give us a month or two. We are going to make it work with any IP joystick controller. So what that'll do is essentially you can take a PTZOptics SuperJoy, and Hive will bridge the SuperJoy for the far end. So suddenly your IP joysticks can control the cameras that are not on the LAN, but over the WAN. And we're testing that now. It's getting really close. So there's a lot of different control options for Hive.
Wow. I like what you said. Okay, you have your Stream Decks. You guys are working on there's a joystick option already with the Xbox USB joystick. You're working on getting your keyboards working and your controllers working at a distance. But to be honest, and you talk about the hotkeying, like, this is my switcher right here all of a sudden, and being able to assign understand your hotkey, but be able to do mapping and things like that, so I can program the things that I'm doing the most. It's making me wish we had that setup going. I would love a nice keyboard control. So that's great. Corey, hopefully that answers your question. Folks, keep them coming in if you got any. We got a couple others rolling in right now. Oh, this is a great thought. So Doug Eaton is asking about House of Worship customers using this and sharing a private link with multiple, say, homebound members of their parish who could view the event there, and eliminate maybe the need of like a stream from YouTube or Facebook or something. Is there something like that in Hive, or does it need to feed to one of those services?
Yeah, no. Let me show that really quickly. There's a couple small things in Hive I'd like to show because I know we're getting towards the end here, but I want to show a couple things with Hive to clarify that and show some of the recording and streaming capabilities and switching.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So basically, there's several different permission types. So you have the ability to just send someone access as a viewer. You have the ability to send someone as a producer so that that person can control all the cameras, and then you can send an invitation to an admin who can control everything plus invite new people. Now, For viewers, you can also do all of this as a link. So you can just copy the link and literally just send that to your whole congregation. Now, something to understand with this is that Hive basically when you buy Hive, you get an included number of cloud hours. But once you go over those cloud hours, we're basically billing for the cost of AWS, which essentially is about 2 seconds a minute. So that's about $1 an hour, but that's per viewer. So it is, if you're looking for super privacy, like if it's something like a ballet where you don't want the whole world of YouTube to see, teenage ballet, right? Or whatever it is, it's probably worth it to pay $1 per viewer for that type of private access. We are looking at a way to make this more like a CDN where it can scale to thousands of people without having to pay $1 per viewer per hour. But that's currently where we're at. Yes, you can do it. You just have, this is something that's a little different for our Pro AV integrators. Not a lot of us ask, how many hours are you planning to stream? How many viewers are you planning to have? And we don't want people to have any surprises with the billing because essentially you can rack up a bunch of overages. If you have 100 people viewing it, right? That could be $100 an hour. With that being said, I don't think it's going to be too far out in our development pipeline to create a more of a CDN style delivery option. The cool thing is for sports, if you're giving somebody the ability to see whatever camera they want, that's a lot better than just watching a single YouTube stream.
Right.
So you're giving some really interesting new use cases to the world where it's like, well, this person, like if you think about, I'm trying to think of like Patreon, Joe, where it's like, okay, well, you guys are all paying me $20 a month, so you get to be viewers and get to choose which camera you get, which is better than YouTube. And then you guys who are paying me $100 a month actually get to control XYZ camera and get a behind the scenes view. So it opens up a world of possibilities for viewing, access, and control. And as we roll all this out, I'm super excited to see what customers ask for, what they start doing, because we live in a world where there are 5 million creators, I think. And, how many millions of businesses that want to provide access. Like, for example, Joe, something that I would remiss not saying is every single PTZOptics dealer is going to get Hive for free. That costs us money. But why are we doing that? Because now every single PTZOptics dealer can share access with their customers and say, hey, you want to control a 30x camera in a church? Click this link. Boom. So we don't have to ship cameras to churches anymore to show them what a 30x is. The friction and the sales cycle, just becomes so much more optimized when you can just send a link any time of day, right? And just be like, boom, you're in Australia? Okay, try this camera. It literally works around the globe 24/7.
That's so great. I have a tack on question to that. That comes from me directly. A great question from Doug. Thank you. What is the viewing situation like? So if I send somebody a view link, view only, they're getting the minimal access. Does that take me to a web browser to view? Do they need to view it in a Hive client or application? What does that look like for them?
Yeah, so for anybody, they have the ability to go browser first, right? So web browser, Google Chrome, doesn't matter if you're on a Chromebook and that's a good question, by the way, because what we do is we transcode in the cloud. So you can have 4K 60 video, at your main location, and you've got a cool computer doing it. You send it up to the cloud. But if a viewer has a Chromebook and they're at Starbucks on Wi-Fi, we'll transcode that and deliver them whatever they can handle. So
Nice.
this really democratizes access to video production. So if someone gets a viewer only link, they're just going to be able to view the cameras. They're not going to get any of these controls on the right-hand side for color correction, which we should probably take a quick peek at, Joe, because
that was my next thing.
Yeah, we should really look at the color correction stuff really quickly.
We were talking about this in the pre-call, a little color correction. I want to make sure we touch on that. We've got a little time left. Appreciate folks with the questions coming in. Keep them coming if you've got them. And we'll be sure to address though.
Yeah, let's jump into the color correction because this is probably one of our customers' top pain points is I've got 3 cameras and they're just not matching up. Sometimes they're from all PTZOptics cameras. Sometimes they've got a Bird Dog or a Sony or a Panasonic. So this is a real strength of Hive, and we know it's a pain point for our customers, which is why we're addressing it. So if we cut to a screen capture, or the screenshot share, I'll show you this, how this is set up. So essentially, in the top right, what we can do is we can get all, first of all, this is standardized. So if you've got Sony, Panasonic, Canon, it's all going to be the same control set. We can do shutter speed, iris gain. And one of the big things about Hive is when we add a camera, of which we support so many, and I'm just going to show
Right.
you all the, I'll just show you all the Canon cameras that we support, for example. We literally support like every brand under the sun, but let's just choose Canon. And you'll see here that we've got the individual camera models. And the reason why is because when you add a camera into Hive, it's the unique driver for that camera. We're not just doing like Visca over IP, which is what most IP joysticks do, which is, pan, tilt, zoom, and a little bit of iris, a little bit of shutter speed, but certainly not all the detailed, unique, options that each camera have. In Hive, we said no. Any camera that gets connected to the system is going to have a full driver so that we can literally have shutter speed, iris, white balance, all of that. And once all that's connected, you can then create a custom preset. So that is basically a color correction preset of all of your settings, so that if you have a setting for daytime and a setting for like a candlelight service at the church, you can save all of that into presets and quickly change them and share them between each camera.
Wow. That I think one of my favorite things about that, Paul, is that it sort of I don't know if the term is equalizes, but it takes all the different UIs and the interfaces and the different looks to everything and the different locations of buttons and really kind of houses them all in one easy to find place for the user. And honestly, that's one of the biggest pain points I've ever ran across, personally, working with multiple cameras, especially from different vendors. All that information is in various places, and having to chase it down is at least half of the battle, if not more. We've got about 15-ish a little minutes here, give or take. We've got questions rolling in, which I want to make sure we get to. So thank you for those and keep them coming. Tim Duncan wants to know, what is the relationship between Hive and NDI, which I think is an important thing to kind of dive into and look at. Can you explain a little bit about how those two work together?
Yeah, so essentially you can bring any NDI camera into Hive as an input. We can also output NDI, and that is the kind of more exciting thing in my opinion. So yes, you can bring in any PTZOptics camera, you can bring in any camera with RTSP, OnVIF, or NDI into the Hive. We're also looking at SRT and RTMP, which is going to be really interesting. That'll be a cool live view integration coming soon. But
Paul, you've been shouting out a bunch of our brands, so I just got to say thank you for that. He knows what he's doing, folks. He's a pro.
Yeah, and it's a Pro AV solution. We're a Pro AV company. We build for that. But with NDI output, that is really, really interesting, because now with NDI output, you do need to use the Windows or Mac app. Okay, so anyone who connects to Hive, you can connect in any web browser, right? You can connect with your phone, you can connect with your laptop. But if you want to output NDI video, we need some horsepower. And so you're going to have either use the Windows or Mac Hive software on your computer, quick little install. It looks exactly the same as the web browser. And then you can actually output NDI from all of the video and audio sources in Hive on the far end. So if you've got a studio like a church or a sports arena where it's got 4 or 5 cameras, you can output all of those video sources via NDI and bring them into vMix or OBS or whatever video switcher that you're using that supports NDI, and do all the video switching remotely. So that is really interesting, and it opens up a lot of cool new remote production workflows.
I haven't gotten his feedback yet because it was somewhat recently, Tim. That was a great question and reminded me of a colleague of mine, Tim. I always mess up his last name, Tim Kurbavitz. And Tim does a lot of remote productions and he has insane amounts of gear. And every time he goes somewhere to a different site, he's talking about the kits he's putting together. And I sent him a link to this because I said, hey, you should really dive into this and check it out. So I'm excited to get some feedback about that. You continue to drive home all of these real pro level features and functions that exist inside of a solution that, as Corey pointed out in the chat, Paul, you didn't see, but Corey did mention how easy this is to use and how sufficient even the keyboard, he said, is sufficient. All you got to do is take a little time with it, which is the same way I felt when I first got into Hive. Like, it just did not take long for me to feel like I know what I'm doing here. I can find my way around. We've got about 10 to 15 left. We're kind of winding down a little bit. I do want to make, Paul, we got to talk about the Studio Pro and the Z Cam. You've touched a little bit on the Z Cam a little bit earlier. Can you just give us, kind of the bird's eye view on those two products and what might make them interesting to our partners?
Yeah, so I'm guessing many of our partners, at least 70% of you, know that we do make pan tilt zoom cameras, and we standardize on 12x, 20x, and 30x optical zoom lenses. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to have basically equivalent 20x, 12x, 20x, and then hopefully one day 30x optical zoom lenses on static cameras. And the reason why is because we do a lot of business in courtrooms, right? And they need to have a specific shot that doesn't need pan tilt zoom. So these pair nicely with PTZ cameras because you've got a static shot that you can cut to, a wide angle, etc. These are completely remotely controllable. If you're using like our Crestron or our Extron camera control programs, all of it is standardized. So all of our developers that work on our platforms, it's the same exact codes. It's the same exact integrations in vMix and OBS and Wirecast that we've used. So everything works, except these will just zoom in and out as opposed to having the pan tilt. So that's really the idea behind the Z cams. These are power over Ethernet and they're a Swiss Army. We've got NDI,
look at all those ports,
got HDMI, SDI, USB connectivity and plug and play. These are Hive linked. So literally, that's my favorite thing. We've got the buttons on the side so that we can zoom in and out. We've also got custom buttons on here so that an integrator can customize that to whatever the client might need. For example, recording in the vMix system or starting streaming on the TriCaster that they have in their system. So it's a really cool thing. I'm a big fan of these. These are really popular. And for the higher end streamers who are willing to spend $500 or $600 on their camera, these are used for little podcast and streaming studios as well. So these are great little cameras to go with the PTZs.
Excellent price point that kind of sits them, above a typical, I don't even want to say webcam because that feels a little not fair even to like the Studio Pro and the Z Cam, but a price point that sits above any of the entry level stuff that gives you more of a professional quality, not quite as much as getting into like, mirrorless or DSLR world. And you can get really that good quality with a bunch of functionality as you just explained, plus the Hive link. So now that kind of opens up a whole new world for that. And I feel like that's such an important thing when you're looking at a camera like that is the Hive link that opens up a whole other world. Because again, I was talking about those building stones and stepping stones earlier, which I think this is just such an awesome solution for, is maybe it's somebody who needs one camera today or only one or two cameras, but they have a vision for something much more grand that they need to get to down the line, which is kind of the way it goes for a lot of us. Right. So I love to see that. You mentioned the podcast studios, which I think are an important call out, even and especially in the enterprise world. In the last, I would say 2 years, in this post-COVID world now, I guess is kind of the timeline I'd use. We have had so many enterprise customers inquire and many of them move forward with developing their own type of content creation studio that's designed for them to host podcasts, shoot videos, host live webinars just like this and things like that. And there is not a shortage of that. Those are growing and is a growing segment. So it's something to easily ask your customers about because ultimately, I run in this in direct view LED all the time too. People seem to know I need this hardware. Okay, and in direct VLAD, I need some screens. But what are you going to put on the screen? You need content. That's the king of this thing. Well, you've got cameras. I know I want to put a production together. Who's steering it? Where are they? How are they operating it? This opens up that world to them and answers those questions for your partner. If you're a systems integration partner and you're talking to somebody about these types of solutions, that is for sure a key point of the conversation. Paul, we're getting to it. We got to announce a winner. I want to make sure. Okay. It looks like Corey wanted to know about the Zcam and wondering if they have any kind of EPTZ kind of framing or tracking or anything like that. Obviously, they're not. We don't have the pan and tilt portion. We just have the zoom. Is there any of that functionality in there, or is that more reserved for the actual PTZ cameras?
So the actual PTZ cameras have physical auto tracking and now auto framing, which is really great. We have the ability to lock what we call presenter lock, so we can lock into a specific subject, and it doesn't matter how many other people are on stage. You know, it's literally using onboard computer vision, no additional software needed. Now, for the Zcams, it's our hope that we're going to build EPTZ style tracking and framing into Hive. So that's not in the cameras. That will be a feature that we hope to put into Hive. We've got a lot of things on the roadmap. I hope they don't get in trouble for announcing all these things that are coming soon. But some things are added, with software value add, and some things are built into the hardware.
I love that you guys are taking both approaches. I appreciate you answering that question. I will say to folks, the tracking that they have is unrivaled. We put it to the test. I got really excited about it when we were at Infocom, and Paul showed me a new release of it, and I was running around the booth like a crazy person, and amidst all of the people in the booth, it kept its hold on me. So if you haven't seen it real live and in person, definitely work to get some demo hardware. Let us know if we can virtually offer you guys a demo. Paul, we're getting close to wrapping up. I'm gonna do a winner real quick. I've got it loaded up here. I wish we had a drum roll scene or something. Maybe we'll have to work on that. But shout out to Todd Petrie. Todd, I hope I didn't get that wrong, for attending, and you will win a Studio Pro. We appreciate everyone's time. So shout out to PTZOptics for making that happen for us to be able to give that away. Todd, our team will follow up with you so we can get that in your hands. Paul, any parting messages you want to leave the people with? Where can they find you? All that sort of good stuff as we sign off here.
Yeah, I'll just say that we really have a wonderful channel team designed to support you and close more business. So we have a project registration option. We're doing new flexible bundles that our team can tell you about. If you've got a multi-camera bundle, we can save you money and you can get more margins. We're really a channel-focused company with strong map policies and support programs for our team. We've got a 5-year warranty. We've got an award-winning support team here in the United States. So really appreciate all the business that everyone's done. And I think, I really believe we've got something special with this Hive that's going to bring all kinds of new opportunities. So stay in touch with us. We're generating a lot of leads. We give those all to our channel partners. So, don't forget to poke Joe for a couple leads coming your way, because we've got a lot. There are a lot of, there's a ton of interest in Hive. And for every single person that we've signed up for Hive, they've invited more than 3 people. So this is it's going to roll out relatively slow, because, you're going to have 1,000, you're going to have 2,000. But when that turns to 4, 6, 8, 10, 20, 60, 120, that's when I hope that you guys are going to be grateful that you took these, you're the person that they came to, because it's going to grow pretty quickly in these organizations.
I know everybody is looking forward to that moment. I will just reinforce for all the folks listening out there, Paul, you listed off awesome warranty, awesome staff, your guys' constant attention to the channel and what it means for you to do business with all the partners. And folks, I don't throw these kinds of things around loosely. Paul is 100% right on that. I've worked with PTZOptics and the team over there for quite a time, and it is a great group of people who's very interested in, the partnerships and doing things the right way. A lot of other manufacturers, Paul, would list those things front and center. It'd be the first thing they talk about. And for you guys, it's almost, I don't want to call it an afterthought, but it was like, let's tag this on at the end, because there's just so many good things to talk about. So appreciate your time and you being here with us today from Pennsylvania. from me in Minnesota and our team at Starin all over the country and midwich around the globe, we want to thank you all for joining us. Check out our YouTube page for this recording and others. The Infocom video I mentioned with PTZOptics is up there as well as releases of our new podcast, The Loop. Otherwise, reach out to your Starin sales rep if you have any questions and we can help you out. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the AV Exchange.